Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment, and we are here for a vertical or incline emphasis push workout for the upper chest. We're gonna be doing incline, cambered bar bench press, low incline dumbbell flies, behind the back cable laterals, dumbbell overhead extensions, and dumbbell shrugs. It is my week 3, so this is going to be a pretty hard session. Not the hardest, but decently hard. So I just have one question for you. Where is Harveydent? You seen him? Because I ain't seen him. So I gotta go do a push workout in the meantime.
I know the next audio is not going to be great, everyone, but I said some pretty important, valuable stuff in here that I think that you can take home and use as soon as possible. So we're going to leave it in, and we'll have the text on screen just for this next segment, and then I will come back on here and talk to you guys again.
So we're starting with incline cambered bar bench. If you follow me on Instagram, Shimmy93 on Instagram, SHIMMY93. You've seen me do this countless amounts of times. When I do the incline cambered bar bench, I usually go right to a plate on each side. I'll do about 5 or 6 reps or so, and then do a couple more, 1 or 2 more warm-ups and 2 or 3 reps to get me ready for the working weight of the day. Today we're going to be doing 4 sets of 6 to 10 reps, decently close to failure this time. Maybe 2 reps in reserve, so it's going to get a little bit dicey. As I've mentioned in the past, I find with chest pressing, training at failure may not always be that fruitful of an experience. So I'm going to train really, really close, and I'll be able to get a lot of effective volume in with more approaches to failure. So that's what I'm going to do. And one other thing, because we're doing these slow eccentrics and we're doing a full pause, which you'll soon see, I find this movement to not be really good in higher rep ranges. Sets of 5 to 8, sets of 6 to 10, probably at most sets of 8 to 12 seems to be the best as far as what I've experienced and working with a fair bit of people both in person and online. Chest is fast twitch for most people. So I find that it benefits from having a significant amount of tension through it, mechanical tension, load, and doing 15 or 20 on the first set for presses. Not that pleasant. Save that for class. So when I do this, chest up, rib cage expanded. I'm going to take the bar as high as I can and back. Pause in my natural stopping point, and then press the straight line.
Crikey, that's nice. This is only a warm-up set, but remember, the intention in your warm-up set should be the same as your working set. So whether you have 135 on the bar or 435,000 on the bar, it should look the same, and your intent should be the same. Here's me performing just a warm-up set of 6, I believe. And then from here, we're going to show you my first working set of the day with 205 for 10 reps.
And big real-world piece of information here, meet your range of motion where it's at, especially in your warm-up sets. You may not be able to get to as deep a range of motion as you do during your working sets because you're warming up. We don't come in here and do random, non-specific arm swings, leg kicks. No, we just come in and start doing the movement that we're going to be doing for the day. Let your range of motion come to you. You feel a natural stopping point in those earlier reps, stop there. And as you warm up, your muscles become a little bit more pliable, you acclimate to the movement pattern and the load, your range of motion will also likely increase.
And again, everyone, I'm sorry that the audio is completely crap there. But we have the text on screen, and I'm sure that you are all able to make it out. So I think that is pretty useful. And here's my first working set of 10 reps. Being sure that every single repetition is intentional. 1 rep to the next, a controlled eccentric, a full pause, and my most pain-free natural end range point. And then I'm pressing all the way up to essentially completely straight arms while maintaining an expanded rib cage and retracted shoulder blades, elevated upper chest. Elevated chest, I should say. And this is pretty close to technical failure. This isn't all the way, but this is probably 1 rep in reserve. Maybe 2, but probably closer to 1. And we're leaving this whole shaboinka in for you guys to see this time. No jump cuts on this one, my babies. And clearly I was excited. Look at the window from a glass on that one.
So again, that was my first working set. Now, I said this is the first 2 videos where I'm like, I'm sure we'll get it all on camera. Now I know for sure we got that whole set on camera. Notice, I only go to my natural stopping point. You don't get bonus points. You don't get bonus points for extra range of motion. You get points for taking the weight through the largest range of motion that you can control and produce force in pain-free, especially out of the end range. Additionally, you don't have to pause these movements. I've mentioned this before, I'll mention it again. Research has not been favorable thus far to stretch or pausing in the most stretched position. Not that it's independently more hypertrophic, but I think with movements that allow for significant stretch to the target musculature with a lot of load opportunity, no homo pause, no diddler, I think stretching is a really fruitful thing to do. We love fruit. It's tasty. It's delicious. We're gonna do 4 sets total, and then we're gonna go to low incline dumbbell flies. This is my 3rd week in this training block. So I started to give you guys a little bit of an idea of how to progress, or how I progress. I started week 1 of this with 3 sets, about 4 reps in reserve, or 80% of my best effort for the rep range in question. And I started with 185 pounds. Today, week 3, we're doing 4 sets with 205 pounds, matching reps. I was 10 on the first, I'll probably get 8 on the second, and we'll go from there. I can recover from it. I am ready to train my chest again in a few days, get a little bit sore. So this is a good volume for me. Experience a pretty significant reduction in overall speed, tempo, cadence of the repetition. It's pretty much my time to last call, my time to close out the tab, my time to get her number and say, it's time to go back to Daddy's house. Cameraman is also a personal trainer in real life and also trains hard for himself. So I asked him about the camber bar, if he uses it, or if he's used it, because he never used it before we started talking. And he said yes, he loved it. And it got me thinking, you know, when you train in this fashion, control eccentrics, pain-free large ranges of motion, potentially pausing in the end ranges, going close to failure in moderate to high rep ranges. Even if you don't know anything about it, it just feels right. And I hate saying that because that seems like Jim Jones drinking the Kool-Aid, culty type stuff. But I can't get away from it, you know? If someone sees you doing it and they don't even know anything about lifting weights, they're like, I don't know what they're doing, but that looks fluid. That looks right, you know? And a lot of people that I've shown this way of training, or you've tried it on your own at home, they maybe have come from just the typical rep it out stuff, staying in the medium range, the mid-range rather. This is just a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different ballgame. So if you've never ever trained in this fashion, with controlled eccentrics, somewhat larger ranges of motion, albeit pain-free, decently close to failure with good effort and intent, possibly also with end range pauses, I implore you to give it a whirl because it's really awesome. Do I have a personal bias? Fuck yeah. I know the squealers when I see them. Yeah. Randy Savage. I don't know why my Randy Savage and Joker is like the same thing. Go to 3 minutes. 3 minutes later. I'm on today. I am out of bounds today.
It's that new pre-workout.
Stanky leg. Not even actually. I think it's because we're here at 12:30 instead of 7:30. It's like I've had food, I've had time with myself. All right, last shit. Clearly that was to failure, or maybe 1 in the tank. You see, when you say, oh, I trained 4 reps in reserve, or 3 reps in reserve, or whatever the number is, this stuff is arbitrary. You don't always get it right, we're human. But overall, it's about the averages. And everything shakes out to where it needs to be in the end. So you try your darndest to stay with the appropriate effort, but sometimes it'll be too easy. Sometimes like that, you'll go to failure or close. That's all good, as long as overall it ends up being the same.
So you said that was supposed to be a week 3?
This is week 3, yeah. So this would be like, I don't know, 85–90% of my best for the rep range. Roughly there. Yeah. Same with food, guys. And I haven't talked a lot about nutrition, but I will. When you're tracking your food, you don't have to nail your macros to the gram, or even by 100 calories each day. You can go up sometimes, you can undereat sometimes. Overall, it's the averages over the weeks and the months that tell the tale of the tape. So we just finished 4 sets of incline cambered bar bench, 6 to 10 rep range. Now we're gonna be moving on to incline dumbbell flies. Now I had previously been doing typical 30-degree incline dumbbell flies, done them for a few months, they felt great, but in the last couple workouts, my elbow, bicep, and shoulder started to feel just a little bit uncomfortable. So I usually give myself a buffer of about 2 workouts to let an exercise feel a little bit iffy, wonky, off. And then if it's still the case, I make a change. I exercise variation for the exercise to a new variation. And that's definitely correct. So we're simply gonna be doing a low incline dumbbell fly. So take a flat bench, just raise it up 1 notch, 2 notches, and exercise the same technique mechanics as you would a regular dumbbell fly. Now, when exercising variation for your exercise variations, there are many ways that you can do that. Sure, you can completely swap one movement for another. You can go from a flat dumbbell press to a cambered bar bench. For sure you can. But switching the overall exercise is only one tool in the toolbox. You can increase or vary the rep range. You can institute pauses or no pauses at either end range, top pause, bottom pause, or no pause at all. You can manipulate the range of motion entirely, especially with what's come out with research in regarding the lengthened position. So you can go from full range reps to lengthened partial reps where you only do the bottom half or maybe 75%. You can mess with the exercise order where you did the exercise first. Now you could do it second or third. Or you can simply change the exercise entirely. All of those things are valid, but just remember, you have many opportunities to exercise variation for your exercise variation. So now we've got everything working. So we're on to the lateral delt portion of the workout. We are doing behind the back cuff lateral raises. This is just a variation. I won't tell you there's innately anything unique about them, but it's very comfortable, very nice. If you have access to a Freemotion machine, it's worth trying this one on for size. You set the arms of the Freemotion as low as possible, cross your arms behind you. I like to hold handles, as you've seen in a previous video, because it feels more comfortable on my grip and elbows.
We go as far back as we can, and then we raise all the way up, keeping our palms facing down throughout the duration of the movement. We're doing these in the roughly 10 to 15 rep range. And because we had already done quite a lot of chest work, body is decently warm already, and this is innately not that hard of a movement, I actually don't do any warm-ups on here. I just go right to it. So I've already done the first set. We didn't get that one on camera, but we're gonna get this second set. Last week, I got 15 on the second set with one notch of lighter weight. So my progression this week is a load progression while matching reps. So I got 17 on the first set, I'm gonna get 15 now. And being that we're on camera for you, Mother Earth, I have to get 15 because that's what I said I was gonna do. Can't punk out for the camera. Punk out for yourself. Can't punk out for the camera. Every time I'm on the set for teamskeet.com, that's what they tell me too. I know you know what that is. And if you were watching, my body did not sway with the weight. There was no swinging involved. I was able to maintain the same direction in my wrist. I didn't rotate upwards. Simply just raised up as high as I could, came down slow. Again, fantastic variation for the lateral delts. Significant tension in the stretch of the medial delt. Really comfortable on the elbows. Just an all-around bangarang of an exercise. You should try it. So we are now moving on to a 2 dumbbell overhead tricep extension. Now, I don't see a lot of people doing this movement. I didn't make it up. I'm sure other people have done it. Just more oftentimes you see people doing it with 1 dumbbell, 1 arm, an easy bar, Smith machine, or straight bar. We're going to be using 2 dumbbells. I find this allows both elbows to move a little bit more independently, and the neutral grip seems to be a lot more comfortable for a lot of people as compared to a pronated grip. So we're gonna be doing that and taking some of the lengthen partial or stretch mediated hypertrophy research into real world application. We are going to be extending most of the way up, but not all of the way up. I have found that if I do this only 50% of the way up, it's just weird and uncomfortable. But I also find that if I go to completely straight arms now after 15 years worth of training, doesn't make my elbows feel the greatest. So I'm going to extend probably to like 80 or 90% of the way up, and that's it. So let me show you how I do this, son. I'll show you how to do this, son. Jay-Z, Blueprint 2, Gift and the Curse, be there. Kick the dumbbells up to straight arms, lean back. Extend as far down as you can. Pause, raise up most of the way. Down slow, pause in the stretch, most of the way. One more time, pause in the stretch, up most of the way. And that, my friends, is how you pump up your tricepitops. Oh, I know the squealers when I see one, and I see a squealer right here. It's a thing of beauty, huh? See, sometimes when I look around the gym and I see people doing verklempt technique with bad effort. The only thing that I ask myself is, what happened? Did your balls drop off? Batman has shown Gotham your true colors, unfortunately. So just so you all know how interesting my mind is, whenever somebody asks me, am I ready? My first answer, or the first reaction in my head is not yes, it's not no, it's not absolutely, it's na 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 na, rompe, rompe, Daddy Yankee. That's the first thing always that comes to my head. And I'm not even Puerto Rican. One technique tip I'd like to give to you all, and it's very nuanced, but maybe you noticed it. As you descend deeper and deeper into your end range, there's a high likelihood that the dumbbells, if you descend just linearly, will hit the back of the bench. So if you noticed, I actually subtly twist my wrist and subsequently the dumbbells out a little bit to avoid the dumbbells hitting the bottom of the bench. Now with smaller dumbbells, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, this won't show its face. But when you get to slightly thicker dumbbells, 35, 40, 45, 50, whatever, if you don't do that, you will hit the bottom of the bench. So when I'm here and I descend, I actually twist out a little bit and then I come up. And on my next set, he'll zoom in on just a couple reps so you can really see that, because this is a very, very helpful cue. So how I'm currently applying all of the research and evidence and information that's coming out on length and partial and tension in the stretch is I am just aiming to not spend all of the amount of time in the shortened range or the peak contraction. So I'm not over-indexing on a complete just 50% range of motion, but instead of doing the full 100, maybe I'm doing 90, maybe I'm doing 80, where it makes sense. And I found that to be very useful, very helpful. So on these, I'm basically doing the whole thing. I'm just not going to completely straight arms. If I was to go only here, it just doesn't feel the same for me. It doesn't feel as comfortable. I don't have as much of a pump and disruption and soreness even in my triceps, and I've tried it. Tried it, triceps. Tried it on my triceps. And that might be something useful for you as well. Look at the research. Look at all the information that's come out, synthesize for yourself, and then come up with your own conclusion of what makes the most sense to you, but is also in line with the research that's coming out. Is this the best way? I don't know, but I know that it feels really good, and it is in line with what a lot of the research is telling us. So now, of course, the only thing you can do is just try for yourself. So another real-world tip for you all, especially when using dumbbells for an exercise, whatever exercise it is. If you're looking to progress week over week, making a full jump from one load to the next might be too ambitious. To go full stop from the 40s to the 45s, that might be too ambitious for the entire rep range you're doing. But remember, you don't have to stay with the specific dumbbell you're using across all sets. Example, I used the 45s for the first 2 sets, then I went back down to the 40s for my next 2 sets. So if you do the math on that, the average is a load of 42.5 pounds. Last week, I used the 40s for all my sets. So technically, it's actually an overall load progression. I went back down from the 45 to the 40 because I felt as though I was going to drop out of my rep range, and I didn't want to do that. So as long as you're staying within your rep range, you can probably vary the dumbbells that you're using to a small extent and still elicit an overall load progression from one week to the next. And that may not be intuitive for so many people, so I want to share that with you. So we just finished dumbbell overhead extensions, and now we have shrugs. You might say shrugs. First of all, why are you doing shrugs? You do tons of other movements. And number 2, you might also say, shrugs on a push day? Why? I'll answer number 2 first. This is just where it seamlessly fits into my routine, where it makes the most sense to do them. I don't really like doing them on both of my pull days. On one of my pull days, I do. My other back day, I'm just tired. I don't want to get to them. And then to the first point, why am I training shrugs in general? I deemed that my traps were a lagging body part about 1.5 years ago relative to the rest of my physique. So despite all the full range of motion, laterals, rows, stiff-legged deadlifts, or whatever that I do, that might collaterally train the traps from an isometric standpoint, I decided I wanted to do some direct trap work. So here we are, dumbbell shrugs, and a rare sighting of me actually using pretty heavy dumbbells. I'll tell you why. I found when it comes to dumbbell shrugs, tension in the stretch or really depressing the scapula is a really, really beneficial thing to do to elicit trap growth. And pulling them up crazy high only yielded elbow and bicep pain and fatigue for me with not so much payoff. My pump wasn't anything more substantial. My soreness wasn't anything more to write home about. So it might be one of these situations where the bros could have been right. Because as much as we shit on the bros that have been lifting for a while usually don't have bad traps if you really think about it. From all of the rack pulls, the partial range of motion stuff they do, maybe they do farmer's carries, overhead presses, things of that nature. This all involves basically the traps having to hold a lot of weight in a stretched position with maybe a small elevation, small contraction. So, technique on here. We lower our arms all the way down as far as we can. Pause, and we shrug up only as high as we can where we maintain straight arms and no higher than that. And that's it. When you do this at home, you're gonna be shocked. You're gonna be like, man, I can actually use a fair bit of weight. Now remember, we're not doing this to chase load, absolutely not. Weight selection is simply a function or manifestation of the technique and effort that we are outputting, putting out, exuding, showing. So, I'm gonna do about 15, maybe 17 reps on here, I don't know. I'm sufficiently warm, it's a pretty simple movement to do. So just gonna strap up. Definitely wanna have your Trojan for this one, your Jimmy, your hood, your hat. She's shaking her head like, can't take him anywhere. And we're just gonna get going. So. And that's all she wrote. Decent pump in the traps. Pretty simple. And again, it's weird, right? Because we never find ourselves at the end of the dumbbell rack. We never find ourselves at the deep end of the swimming pool. But this movement necessitates a somewhat heavier load because the traps can handle it. Now you can try this all day long if you want. I just found for me, it just didn't yield anything positive. I gotta pump. I gotta pump in my traps for shizzle, my dizzles. It's my dogs, my dudes, my divas, my daisies, my darlings. That's it, so 4 sets of here. And then I will bid you guys adieu, but not yet. Still have 3 more sets to do. 10 to 15 rep range. And again, I'd further like to reiterate, stay. When you're doing your shrugs, push your arms down as far as you can. Really depress that scapula. Pause there in the stretch. It ain't so much of a stretch, but we're doing whatever we can. Stretch, then shrug up, only as high as you can, where you can still maintain a straight arm. And also doing these in moderate or higher rep ranges makes the most sense to me. Anything less than 15 reps on a first set here is curious. Very curious. Sorry, sir.
Sorry.
What's curious?
What's curious?
I hope you guys get that. Do you know what that's from? Ollivander. Ollivander, no place better. Woo, woo, woo. Thank you for watching my workout today. It was very nice to have you. Push workout in the BOOKS, the books. Incline cambered bar bench, 4 sets of 6 to 10 reps on screen. Low incline dumbbell fly, 3 sets, 10 to 15 reps. Behind the back, cuff lateral raise, 4 sets, 10 to 15 reps. 2 dumbbell, overhead seated, triceps, extension, 4 sets, 10 to 15 reps. And then we finished with standing dumbbell shrugs, 4 sets, 10 to 15 reps. Wonderful training session. A lot of information in here, as usual. I hope you can all go home and use it. Any questions you have on what you see, please comment down below. Anything you'd like to see, please comment down below. If you're bored at home, please comment down below. If you're not bored at home, comment down below. Subscribe, SHIMMY93 on Instagram, The Shim Show here on YouTube. I'll see you all on the next one. It's been a pleasure.